You have chased a mirage for years, sacrificing your peace, your relationships, and your sleep, only to finally grasp the prize and feel absolutely nothing. This is the ultimate modern tragedy, arriving at the summit of your ambitions, looking around and realizing the mountain is entirely barren. You thought the promotion, the money, or the status would fix the void inside you. Instead, the void merely expanded. Why does getting exactly what we desire often leave us feeling utterly hollow? In this video, you will discover the exact Stoic psychological framework required to cure this crushing emptiness and finally find lasting fulfillment. 2,000 years ago, one of the wealthiest men in the Roman Empire stood in the center of unprecedented opulence and felt this exact same profound emptiness. Seneca the Younger was an advisor to the Emperor Nero, a man who possessed sprawling estates, infinite gold, and boundless political influence. Yet, beneath the luxurious surface of his life, Seneca observed a haunting reality among the Roman elite. They were acquiring everything they had ever dreamed of, yet they remained deeply miserable, restless, and completely dissatisfied. Seneca realized that the human mind is a bottomless vessel when it chases external validation. Seneca understood a psychological trap that modern science now calls the hedonic treadmill. The ancient Stoics recognized that our desires are naturally infinite, while the material world is strictly finite. When Seneca looked at the most successful men of Rome, he saw prisoners chained to their own relentless cravings. They would conquer an entire province just to satisfy a fleeting urge, only to wake up the next morning feeling the exact same gnawing emptiness. The Stoics knew that an empire built on the foundation of chasing external acquisitions is doomed to collapse under the weight of endless expectations. The emptiness you feel after achieving your goal is known as the arrival fallacy. We operate under the dangerous illusion that once we attain a specific milestone, our internal state will permanently transform into happiness. We tell ourselves that the next paycheck, the next relationship, or the next accolade will finally be enough. But the Stoics teach us that external objects possess absolutely no power to alter our internal architecture. A new title or a heavier bank account cannot rewire a restless soul. When you rely on the outside world for peace, you guarantee your own misery. The former slave turned philosopher, Epictetus, offered a brilliant diagnosis for this chronic modern sickness. He stated that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about those things. You feel empty because you placed an impossible burden of expectation upon a completely indifferent outcome. You demanded that a piece of paper, a job title, or a specific number in your account provide you with spiritual salvation. By outsourcing your sense of worth to achievements, you have effectively abandoned your own fortress of mind. You have handed the keys of your happiness to blind fortune. Desire is a subtle contract you make with yourself to remain unhappy until you get what you want. But the cruel trick of human psychology is that the moment the contract is fulfilled, the mind instantly drafts a new one. The Stoics observed that humans are uniquely capable of ruining a perfect present moment by comparing it to an imagined, idealized future. You spent years chasing a specific destination, and now that you have arrived, your mind simply pushes the horizon further away. You are mourning the loss of the chase, not the acquisition of the prize. Marcus Aurelius, a man who literally commanded the known world, frequently reminded himself of the absolute insignificance of fame and achievement. He wrote in his private journal about the conquerors, kings, and elites who had everything, yet still vanished into the dust of history. If the most powerful emperor in human history realized that external acquisitions could not cure the emptiness of the human condition, why do we foolishly believe that our modern pursuits will be any different? Aurelius understood that true fulfillment is generated entirely from within, through the rigorous cultivation of character and personal virtue. The fundamental error we commit is attempting to fill a spiritual void with material possessions. The feeling of emptiness after a major victory is your mind's way of aggressively signaling that you are solving the wrong problem. You are applying a physical remedy to a philosophical illness. You believed the destination would magically bestow you with an identity, a sense of purpose, and unshakable confidence. When the initial dopamine rush of success inevitably fades, you are left alone with yourself again. The mirror reflects the exact same person, carrying the exact same unhealed internal wounds. Modern society has trained us to confuse the sudden spike of cheap dopamine with the profound tranquility of eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is the ancient Greek concept of human flourishing, a state of deep, enduring fulfillment that relies entirely on rational living and moral integrity. Dopamine is fleeting, highly addictive, and leaves a hollow crater when it dissipates. When you got what you wanted, you experienced a chemical high that crashed, leaving you stranded in the wasteland of reality. The Stoic path rejects these chaotic emotional swings, seeking instead a stable, internal harmony that remains completely immune to external circumstances. To break free from this cycle of endless yearning and inevitable disappointment, you must fundamentally redefine your definition of success. Success can no longer be measured by the accolades you collect, the attention you command, or the wealth you accumulate. True Stoic success is the quiet, unbreakable mastery over your own mind. It is the ability to walk through the highest peaks of triumph and the lowest valleys of failure with the exact same unbothered expression. When your goal is mastery over yourself rather than mastery over the world, you can never be robbed of your prize. How do we apply this profound Stoic realization to our daily lives? You must begin by violently detaching your sense of self-worth from the final outcome of your endeavors. Focus entirely on the intense rigor of the process, the purity of your effort, and the discipline of your daily routine. If you are building a business, find your joy in the act of building, not in the fantasy of the eventual sale. When you fall in love with the work itself, the ultimate result becomes entirely irrelevant. The action becomes its own deeply satisfying and eternal reward. The next actionable step is to practice the Stoic exercise of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Before you even achieve your grand ambition, deliberately visualize the moment of success, but strip away all the magical thinking. Imagine the promotion arriving, and alongside it, the increased stress, the lingering boredom, and the same internal doubts. By mentally rehearsing the reality of the achievement, you completely dismantle the dangerous illusion of the arrival fallacy. You protect your mind from the crashing disappointment because you never allowed yourself to expect a utopian paradise in the first place. Finally, you must cultivate a ruthless, uncompromising gratitude for the exact moment you are currently in. This is the essence of amor fati, the love of one's fate. The emptiness you feel is a direct result of constantly living in an imaginary future. You must anchor yourself forcefully into the present. Look at the life you currently possess. It contains elements that a younger version of yourself desperately prayed for. Stop sprinting toward an invisible finish line and learn to inhabit the architecture of your current reality. The only time and place you can ever be fulfilled is right now.
There is a powerful historical account of Alexander the Great that perfectly illustrates the peril of infinite ambition. Alexander spent his entire youth conquering the known world, pushing his armies across brutal deserts and towering mountains. He was driven by a burning obsession to reach the absolute limits of the earth. But when he finally reached the edge of the Indian subcontinent, looking out at the endless expanse of the ocean, he did not feel joy. Legend says that Alexander the Great wept bitterly. He wept because there were no more worlds left for him to conquer.
Alexander possessed more wealth, power, and glory than any human being in history, yet his mind was a tormented prison. He was the ultimate victim of the arrival fallacy. He conquered the entire external world, but completely failed to conquer himself. His tragedy stands as a massive monument to the folly of chasing external achievements to cure internal unrest. If the man who owned the world felt entirely empty at the end of his journey, your salvation will certainly not be found in your next promotion, your next purchase, or your next fleeting moment of societal applause.
We promised you the exact technique the world's most powerful emperor used to stay stress-free. Marcus Aurelius cured his emptiness by turning his gaze violently inward. He realized that the only territory worth conquering is the human mind. The void you feel right now is not a sign of failure. It is a profound awakening. It is the realization that the external world cannot save you. Stop chasing the mirage on the horizon. Cultivate virtue, command your own desires, and build a fortress of inner peace. The emptiness vanishes the exact moment you realize you are already complete.